How you doing, everybody? Hope you had a great week. A lot of things happened this week. We're going to talk about some of them, but nevertheless, I hope you had a good week. We have people from all around the world watching us tonight, so thank you once again for all the support, and as usual, messages coming in like every day pretty much. So thank you once again for all your support. We are on the path to reach the 1,000 subscribers soon, so that's very good, and it's all about it's all because of you. So thank you so much. Keep doing that. It's very interesting to see that people are using also the Discord channel to ask questions. There was actually a very interesting discussion. I believe it was like a couple of days ago. Regarding ACEs and different aspects regarding color science. So you can join, at any time. I believe there's already a link in the description. If not, you can interact with our bot to know exactly how you can get there. But that server is also growing quite a lot. So very nice to see you. Thank you so much for all your support. And speaking of support, by the way, we will very soon, and by soon I mean 1 or 2 days from today, we're gonna have some merchandising available for you to buy if you want and be part of the tribe. It's a way for you to not only be part of the tribe, but also to support this channel, because I want to do more and better things with it. But it's been very good, interesting journey so far. So thank you once again for all the support. And as I was saying, and before I get to the update, and I mentioned this on Discord as well, the registration for what's coming is still going. I encourage you to register if you're interested to know what's gonna happen. Very soon, I'll be able to reveal what's going on, and I think can be very special. So the best way to know exactly when it's going on and what is going on is to register in our website, compositor.vfx.com, and that's it. So soon we will get there. Okay. So as I was saying, a lot of things happened this week. Pandemic wise, one of them very fresh, as fresh as today, but let's talk about everything. So spikes in cases, they continue on the rise. It's actually something that I didn't put on my notes, but I just read recently that, and recently I mean a couple of hours or so, that France, it's either France, like like the whole country, or more specifically Paris, they are considering a national lockdown again. So I've been predicting that this is probably what will happen. And although I don't want to be, I don't want to be right necessarily speaking, because of course this affects everybody's lives and health primarily, of course. But we've seen this played out before. So I don't think, and again, I hope I'm wrong, I don't think that this is avoidable, unfortunately. I think we will see some form, if not exactly the same form of lockdown, because the cases, they continue on the rise, and definitely, we are in the beginnings of a second wave. There's no doubt about that anymore. So, and by the way, we just learned that this is the news, very fresh today, that President Trump and the First Lady tested positive for coronavirus, experiencing apparently mild symptoms. I don't know exactly what that means, but in any way, this is, as you can imagine, a very worrying situation in the United States at the moment, according to the analysts, because, national security wise, this is a very frail moment for them, for that country, because of course, if the head of a country like the United States is sick with this virus, interacts with a lot of people from all sorts of the government, so of course this puts the government in a very hairy situation, I would say. So we'll see what will happen, but Yeah, this just happened a day ago or something, 1 or 2 days ago. No, it was today actually. And I was saying partial lockdowns also happening in different parts of the world, and the UK is not an exception, quite the opposite. I think in the north part of the country, this is already happening. So yeah, not the best of news, I don't think, unfortunately. And the government already said that they are prepared to increase the measures if necessary. And I think, you know, it's easy to understand that probably they will be necessary because things are going on the rise, although it seems like the cases are becoming stable in the UK. This is according to a study that came out maybe 3 days or something like that, 3 days ago. So we'll see how this will play out. Also, the government, the British government, is applying. This says like a few days already. Is applying new measures to support companies and people because the end of the furlough scheme is about to be reached, if I'm not mistaken. If it no, maybe it's already here. Yeah, it's already, yeah. I think that furlough scheme already ended. So now there's another scheme going on, which is not. It's different. It has a different rules. It's not a linear thing as the other one was. But this will represent about, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 to 25% payment or help in wages for companies. Not too sure if this is not, because this is not, as I said, this is not linear, so the rules are a little bit complicated. But I think this is not for people working full-time. I might be wrong, don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But I don't think it's for people working full-time. Maybe it's for part-time people to avoid, them being fired. That's more or less my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong. In our industry, things seem, it seems to me, I'm not entirely sure, but they seem that they're picking up again slowly. Because I'm saying this because I see more people, being hired, posting new titles and new jobs that they got, and good for them, on LinkedIn. But my question remains, and I think it's the same question for everybody, which is, with the second wave, and the new shoots being put on hold for several reasons. Of course, people, crew-wise, of course, some of them tested or test positive like any other person. I'm not too sure if this is actually what, if I'm right or not in terms of like slowly picking it up again. Because if we're going to face a new lockdown, I think we're going to encounter ourselves in the same position as we were 5 or 6 months ago. So we'll see how will this play out. But I believe that unfortunately we're going to see some form of a new lockdown, not only in the UK but overall. I would say, especially in Europe. We'll see then after Europe what happens on the other parts of the world. And again, we've seen this picture before. And I guess that's it for the pandemic update that I normally do in the beginning of the show. Technical highlight of the week. It's a video from VFX supervisor Jadadia Smith, and it's about the math of color grading in nuke. And there's also some explanation over there regarding several aspects about color science. So for those of you, and this is linking the discussion that I said that some of us we were having on our Discord server, linking with this. I thought this was a good one for those of you that are interested in these kind of things. And I believe that's it. Let's see, how's everybody doing? Hello everyone, how you doing? Have my glass of wine. Who has a glass of wine? It's Igor. How you doing, man? You're one of the guys that got a new job, so congrats on that. You deserve your glass of wine for sure. So we have people from Russia, Montreal, UK for sure, because I know that for a fact. Probably Germany as well. And where else? Tell us. So, by the way, I normally say this by the end of the conversation that we're gonna have. Azores, wow, cool, nice one. Hello from Azores, Canada, nice. I was saying that I normally say this by the end of our conversation with our guest, but if you have questions while I'm speaking with the guest, and you know that the guest is always a surprise guest, and that today is not going to be an exception. Bangladesh as well, cool. So if you have questions for them, you know, type them as soon as you have them in your mind, because there will be, you know, a very or more quicker way for me to pick them up as soon as I read them, and I'll try to read them as much as I can. So we have people from, as I was saying, Germany, Syria, wow, cool, Georgia, Bangladesh, Canada, Azores, UK. Wow, so good thing going here. I like it. I like it. Okay, cool. So it's time now for the tech corner. This one here was born because it was actually one of the, you know, when we do the note fights, sometimes I ask this question about animating skies, and I was like, maybe this is a good one to show maybe a different technique from the norm. So that's exactly what we're gonna have today. We're gonna have techniques, a couple of them, to animate static skies. I hope you will like it, because probably one of these techniques, it's news for you, or for the majority of you. I hope you're gonna like it. And then we're gonna have our guest, and we're gonna have a good one today, I promise you. All right, cool. So see you in 2 seconds. We're gonna have Tech Corner now. All right, see you in 2 seconds. So today we're going to talk about something that quite often we are asked to do in compositing, which is, out of a static picture of a sky, we need to give it some movement. We're going to look at 2 techniques. We're going to explore the traditional one that probably is no news for the majority of you, and then we're going to explore an alternative one that probably is news for either the majority or to some of you, and I think this alternative way works better. But let's go to the traditional way. So normally what this means is you're going to drop a transform and then move the pivot down, and then you use the skew on X so you can give it this skew. This technique for me has a few problems, but we're gonna use this with some alternative controls so you can do this a little bit better if you want to proceed with this technique anyway. And for some situations this is probably enough, but we're gonna explore an alternative technique, as I said. But at the moment, let's just beef this one up. So what you want to do is to have this setup to work in any picture. So what we have to do is to first set up the pivot point. So we want to take it from the input, and we want the width divided by 2, because we want to start at the center, and then this will be the height. So if we do this independently of the image that you are inputting, the pivot will always be at the center of that image, independently on the format. So now you have to make a decision on where you want to put this height-wise. So if you take this divided by 2, this will take the maximum height, which is not what we want. What we want is this to be 0, either 0 or with a certain range. So you can actually put this range that you want as an alternative control. But at the moment, let's just say that this is 0. And now what we want is to animate this. So first of all, we need to parent something that will do this automatically without using keyframes. So we're going to use the frame. Then we're going to introduce a certain speed. And this speed variable that I'm creating is not created yet, so that's why it's giving me an error. So now I want to create this variable here, and I want to introduce some values. This will be my range in which I will move things. And then also what I want to do is to also introduce the ability of offsetting the image, because now if I introduce some speed, probably this might be a bit too much already, and I want to have the ability of starting on a certain point that it's probably not the initial picture that I have, but I want this, for example, to start a little bit to the left. So we need to introduce an offset in here. So I'm going to create another one and call it offset, and we're going to go from, I don't know, -10 to 10. And now here on the transform, I'm just going to go on the skew. I'm going to put the frame, first of all, with my offset. So now all of this is going to be multiplied by a certain speed. So this is how we have to do. And now if we go on our first frame, I probably want to start this from here, for example. And so this will make the sky work like this. And then you adjust the speed. If this is still too much, that's okay. If you want to start a little bit before, that's okay too. Let's not forget that, of course, you know, you're taking the image as is. So you're showing some of the blank areas in here. To fix this, you have to go into the frame in which this is showing more, for example the first one, and you probably have to increase the scale a tiny bit, okay, like this. Or if you don't want to grow from the pivot in here, you drop another one here, which is probably what you should do anyway, and then you put this coming from the input, and then you're gonna grow from the center until you get that occluded. You put a crop, that's it. So this is the foundation of a tool to animate any sky if you want in this traditional way. But this is, if you think about it, a really weird way of introducing parallax. Yes, the bottom part is moving less than the top one, but that's not what parallax is all about. The parallax is moving things more or less in depth, not in a flat plane, which is what we're doing in here. We know that this is in reality has some depth, and that's exactly what we want to introduce with parallax. We want to introduce more movement on some of these puffy clouds rather than other ones. So although this is a technique, as I said, that you can work with and sometimes does the job, but I think there's another technique that will work much better. But if you want to go with this one, you can compile this into a tool, give it like very specific controls, which is the speed, offset, and scale, just to get rid of those black areas, and you're good to go with this technique. So the other technique that I want to explore is based on the displacement method. So this is a 2K plate, so for the sake of speed, I'm just going to put the reformat here, and I'm going to put the scale to 0.5. Okay, it's enough for the example anyway. And now what we want is to use a card, and I want this card to follow a certain camera that is generic for the moment. And if I want to have this picture as is, although in the 3D space, I need to link these two. So as usual, I'm going to link the focal length to lens in focal and the horizontal aperture in here as well. So now I just give it a little bit of Z in here. So now if I take the same format as my input in here, which I will, and now this picture is exactly the same as the incoming image, okay, although in here I'm on the 3D space. So now what I want is to introduce the displacement node, as I said, and if I want to display things with some detail, I need to bump this one up to like 100 by 100. Now I want to use a keyer that I'm going to extract and have control over the luminance of my incoming image, and then I'm going to use a displace geo here, and this will be my displacement map, and I'm going to displace the card in the way that I want. So now I want to isolate the areas that I want to displace. As a starting point, let's just do this, see how this goes, and then here on the displacement I need to set the source to alpha because this is outputting things in alpha. You also have the ability, of course, to output these things from luminance immediately, but I want to have control of what happens on the alpha, and I will definitely change this at some point, so I need to have that instead. So now if I look at my 3D space, I don't have these things. There's one problem though, which is I don't want to extrude the white area, so I need to isolate that area. So I'm gonna isolate this area like this. I'm gonna stencil that from my selection right here, just give it some of this, and then let's take a look. Okay, so now I don't have that part being extruded, which is exactly what I want. So the difference is this. Now, do I want to extrude this more or more broadly? Yes or no? It's a question that you have to ask depending on what's the goal. So here we have that thing being extruded like that, but I need to have broader areas. But we're going to take a look at this. Let me just point out that as soon as you use the displacement geo, now the image is not going to be the same as this one, because of course you are growing the image more, so the features will go outside your canvas. So if that's the case, you probably need to readjust things, but for this example I'm going to ignore that. So now what we want is, and I'm going to show you this on the 3D system, is to now move these guys, and we're going to do that via the actual displacement geo. So we have a part in here that is called offset, and look what it does. It does this. So this will definitely introduce some parallax between your clouds, and it's a very easy thing to do. So let's just do this in here, and let's do that live. You see how these things will work now. You do have true parallax now. Okay, the problem is the selection is very steep in terms of like these little mountains that we have in here. So we need to add a blur to our selection. And we can do that on the actual displacement map like that, and then you're gonna have broader selection. All of these things needs to be really subtle, whether it's with the traditional way or with this one. These things need to be really subtle, and you'll see that to get not weird results, and also depending on how much you are moving, you probably will end up with big numbers here on the blur, but we'll adjust this as we go. So now we need to link this in the same way that we did before with a offset and the speed. Let's see if we want to actually start a little bit before. We do. Cool. So let's now cache this. So now if you look at it, now we do have true parallax. You see, now we have movement that is not the same on different parts of our image. And now if you want, you can even mix the two concepts. You'll have the best of both worlds. But let's now try to refine this even further. So you'll have even more movement, even more, detail. So what we're going to do is from the actual input in here, we're going to create with the same formats. I'm going to use this remove again. We're going to use a noise, and then this noise will be with the pattern that we want, and we will also want to animate this with the same one. So frame, and then we're going to get this with a certain speed, something like this. So you see that this is moving automatically and have the ability here of changing the speed. So there's no news in here, I don't think, but anyway, just want to let you know exactly what's happening in here. So now I'm gonna inject this in the main pipe, so this noise will suffer exactly the same transformations that the actual image. So I'm gonna use a shuffle copy. I'm gonna call vectors distort. Okay, so now if you look at it in here with a layer contact sheet, you'll have both of them. Cool. So now both of them will come into the main pipe, and I will have them as well in here. So if I look now with the layer contact sheet, I have these guys as well. Cool. So here's what I want to do. I want to now shuffle them out, and then I'm going to use them on a forward U and forward V channels. So I can then use this as my distort like this. So I choose the forward here, and those are the ones that I want to distort. So you see that now I'll have, this little detail in here, and they can be bigger or smaller depending on the actual size that you have in here. So it will be up to you. So we need to be subtle with this. I'll probably go a little bit overboard just to show you the technique itself. Let's maybe start with this, and then to ease this a little bit more, I'm going to drop a blur here just at the end. So you'll ease this a little bit. So let's now see how this will work in just a few frames. So you see that you have some of that rippling coming from the noise. It's very subtle, but you see that you have some of these things. This needs to be subtle anyway. This is the result with both techniques applied. And you can see that we have like a very nice movement, very nice parallax that is much more realistic than just that initial technique. You also have some movements, some rippling effects on the clouds that you can also have ability to change. And that's it. I think this works much better than the traditional technique. It's very easy to control. You can also compile all of these things into a tool, give it like very specific controls, very similar to the controls that you actually had on the other one. Of course, you should also give the ability to the user on changing the selection of the areas that he wants to have them moving. Something like this will be fundamental for that. But the technique itself is very similar to the other one in terms of controls. So this can be compiled in basically the same way. And then you can use this image in any way you want. I've built systems like this to my teams in movies that we all know. So this is a technique that works really well, and I encourage you to try it because it's so easy and it's so much better. Hey, how did you like that? It's easy, right? It's easy, right? So, from my experience, I don't see a lot of people using this technique, so I thought this could be a good one. What's going on? There's a sound in the background. I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't see like a lot of people using this, and it's very simple, and it's so much better than the traditional way. So I thought this was a good one to show you. And as I said at the end of the video, I encourage you to try it because this works and it's very easy. Once again, I encourage you to try it. And now it's time for our guest. Yeah, and luckily for us, it's going to be another woman. Yay! I'm very happy with that. So it's going to be our third woman in the show, and I want I want to have more and more, honestly, because I think it's lacking so much sometimes. Some of them are a little bit too shy. which is not there's no reason at all, although I understand, I mean, but this is the same for men and women anyway. So we're gonna have our guest really soon. Let's see if everything is prepared for the guest. Let's see. I think everything's fine. She's really nervous, by the way. All right, let's do it. See you in 2 seconds. Look who she is! Yeah, Ruxandra, how you doing? Hello. You're not nervous. I was just kidding.
I was just tell people I'm nervous. That kind of ruins things.
No, I was joking. You're not nervous. You're not nervous at all. It's been a long time, Rux. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been ages. I know, it's been ages. So, and as I said, I think it was actually last time with our common friend, Fee. This show, for me, it's like an excuse to catch up with some friends. Today it's exactly...
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
Yeah, so today it's exactly one of those cases as well. So thank you for coming in. We've met a long time ago. I hate to say it, but I think it was maybe 5 years ago or something, maybe more. We're going to talk about that in just a second. It's been a while. But do you want to present yourself to the audience for the people that don't know you?
I'm Rux. I'm a compositor. I work at One of Us, and I've been working since about 2013 in the industry. I've worked at Milk, Brainstorm, Cinesci, and now One of Us. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. And we actually met during your Milk days. We're gonna cover that as well. And then we met again at Cinesci more recently, right?
Yeah. I never actually worked with you at Milk.
You did? No, I think you were part of one of my teams.
I did a few Doctor Who shots, but it was mainly at Cinesci that I really got to actually work with you properly.
Cool. So it was great, but we're going to talk about that as well. And actually, because you were saying that you worked on all of these companies, and when I was semi-prepping this conversation, because I don't do a lot of preparation, to be honest with you, because I want this to be, not politically correct, and I want this to be like very easygoing, like a conversation that you would have at the pub or something. Except we don't have pub anymore at the moment, so this is going to fill that space, at least for me. But when I was preparing this conversation, I noticed, and I didn't notice, that you actually started your career at the Foundry, right? As a QA engineer or something.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the audience about that part and what QA involves? Because a lot of people don't know exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm. So it was just an internship. I was only there for kind of like just under 2 months, I think, if that. And it was my first job straight out of Escape Studios. And I was hired just Nuke QA is kind of, so I think it was Nuke 8 they were working on at the time, and Nuke QA quality assurance is just to check for any bugs, essentially. So it was kind of cool because you got to actually kind of get down under the hood. So you're learning all this stuff at Escape on how things work and what they do, but then at the Foundry you kind of got to go in a little bit deeper and actually figure out how they actually work and how the developers do things. And it was super interesting.
What was the version again?
I think it was Nuke 8.
Okay, that was a buggy one, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were lots of bugs. lots of bugs, but it was such a crazy experience because I'm not very technical, so to be doing that kind of stuff was just a lot for me, but it was super, super interesting. I learned so much in just such a short space of time. It was really, it was really cool. But
I bet.
Yeah, I wanted to do something more creative. So that's why I had that fork in the road where you kind of choose if you want to go down that route or you want to do something more creative. So yeah, I chose.
But I'm sure it was a great learning experience, and you just mentioned that because coming from your education, whatever it might be, right? It might be college, might be by studying by yourself. It's actually the first step, and you went straight to the developer side in terms of who's making the software, what's going on under the hood, and all that stuff, which can be sometimes or it might be a bit overwhelming because right, you don't know a lot of stuff as soon as you get out of school, right? And this happens with everybody. It happens, we've all been there, right? And but I think as you just mentioned, it must be a really good experience. And soon after that, you went to you had, because you spent like a couple of months there or something, right? Or it was more than that at Foundry?
I think the internship was supposed to be like 3 months or something, but then, during that time, obviously, I was still applying for jobs everywhere else, and Framestore called me. I had applied to them for like a running position. So it's like, oh, do I leave this like really cool, interesting, amazing job to go and do running? But I thought it was a good gamble to make. So I just did it.
You just went, you just went with it. Yeah. So you went to Framestore, and that was actually your first experience, like hands-on in terms of an artistic position, which obviously it's, if you're going, and spend time and money in education, of course, that's the type of job that that you are aspiring to have, right? So that was your actually first experience as an artist, right? Framestore. Yeah. Right. And you spent some years there, right?
Sorry?
You spent some years there, right?
Yeah, I was there for, in total, kind of over 3 years, I think.
Okay, it was a good amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, I did running for, how long was I running for? I think it was almost a year that I was running for. But during that year, they had secondments, so you got given a mentor in Paint Roto, because I was going down the 2D route. And then you kind of learn before your shift, after your shift, and during your shift if it's super quiet. And then you slowly get brought on to shows to do bits and bobs before you kind of get trusted with more work before you move up into the Paint and Roto department and stuff. So
that's exactly what you did, right? For a time you did Paint and Roto, which some shots.
Paint and Roto at Framestore is intense. I think it's probably like that in a lot of the really big companies where it's like a different level. It's kind of junior comp level. I've met some Paint and Roto artists that are just, they're so technical, and some paint shots in particular are so technically demanding.
Yeah, no doubt.
More difficult than comp at times. It was a really big learning curve, and I think some people always say that it's better to start out at a smaller company when you first start out, and I do agree in that sense that you kind of, a bigger company, you don't get to do as much. You don't get to like put your hands in every single pot sort of thing, but in a bigger company, you get to focus on something very particular and do it to a really high standard. So it's kind of, I don't know, there's different ways, I guess.
There's different ways, there's no good or bad. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages on both ways, I would say. And one of the advantages you just mentioned, which is you get, to work to a really high standard hopefully for a certain amount of time, which is not the small one if you're starting out as a freelancer, for example, which was what was actually happened to me when I was first starting out. So of course, from that point of view, you're starting out, you don't know anything, right? So it's not the best. It's not the best, like you're freelancing selling what if you don't know anything, you know what I mean? So it's not ideal in that sense. At the same time, doing that, you have to grow, for survival. Otherwise, you're not going to be hired again. You know what I mean? So there's also that positive side to it. So I mean, there's good and bad in both situations, I would say. But since this was your first approach, and coming from at the time Foundry, which is, you know, you're doing a completely different type of a thing, right? You're not doing at that time an artistic job, but you know all of us that when we are studying, especially in the beginning, we have all these great expectations about the industry. This will be this will be that. This is right. I was that first encounter, like coming from Foundry, because you had your first experience at the Foundry, which again, it's something that is not artistic necessarily speaking. It's a different thing, and I'm sure you learned lots with it. But once you actually start, you know, your first job as an artist, which also very technical because you're doing paint, which can be very technical, as you just mentioned. I was that I was that experience in terms like what was your expectations and what was the reality that you encountered?
I mean, it's a completely different ball game. I feel like the Foundry is kind of, you're working at a software company essentially, so it's like a normal-ish job, you know. You have lots.
Yeah.
Well, when you've landed on working on a show, and it can be like a big Marvel show, for example, it's totally different. Not what you expect at all. Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours, and it's one of these things when you're a junior, you kind of just say yes to everything, and you want to do all the hours, and just like do whatever you can just to kind of prove yourself, because you feel that competition and you feel that like kind of need to prove yourself, you know, and it's terrifying. Every day is scary. Every day you're like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I learn? Who can I learn? Who do I ask? You know, like how does this?
Because the competitiveness of the job is there in front of your eyes every day, every hour, right? So you also have that that side of things, which is the, you know, a little bit of extra pressure. And as a junior, of course, or someone that is starting out, even if you're very, very competent, of course, the ghost of the competition and this guy or this girl is going to steal my position is always there, right? Which is something that probably...
You still feel it. You feel like you need to prove yourself, otherwise you'll be gone, because you know how fickle this industry is, and you want to prove yourself.
Yeah,
on a show.
And I want to talk to you about something that I also talked with Fee last week, which is the fact that this field is unfortunately not well balanced in terms of number of you know, men and women working in the industry. And I think that's unfortunate, right? In speaking of, you know, linking this subject with what you were just saying, did you, because there's still issues on this front, let's face it, right? And did you feel some difficulties of any sort just because of gender? Not only when you were starting out, but also presently, in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, I think, there are issues. It is getting better. But this industry has a sort of culture where it can, at times, in certain companies, be a bit of a boys' club. And it's not necessarily to do with, there are more guys. It's more to do with just that culture of like going to the pub and it being kind of like this nerdy boys' club. And if you don't fit into that mold, you can feel like you're trying to fit into that mold a little bit, or you feel a bit of an outcast and you try and kind of play the part sort of thing. But the more you're in it, the more you realize you can make your own kind of
course,
like place in the industry. And it is getting better, actually. I feel like there are more and more women wanting to enter the industry, or I mean, you see more women in the industry. I don't know how, but
you do. And actually,
not the higher up positions, but at least in some departments, it's starting to feel a bit more equal.
But that's exactly what I want to talk to you about. Also, management positions are normally with men. I don't know the reason for that, honestly. I think both are, you know, they can be great or they can be very bad as well. I mean, it's not a matter of gender necessarily speaking, of course, right? It's a matter of, you know, the personalities and all of other stuff. And actually, after you moved from Framestore, that's when you got into Milk, and that's when we met, right? And at Milk, as we all know, the HOD that is not HOD anymore is a woman. right? And Sarah
Yep.
Bennett, which is someone that I really like. I like very much Sarah Bennett. Oscar winner, by the way. Important to refer. And so I was that experience because, again, we're talking about like a leadership position. We're talking about, of course, a woman. And at that time, it was a very conscious decision that Sarah was trying to, balance the gender in the studio more and more. And I think it was a great attitude. And I think there's only good things that come out of it. Did you feel that as well?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's nice when you see women in management because you see something that you could be. You see something to aspire to, and you don't see that very often. So it's really nice to see that, and it just gives a different vibe on a team when it's more equal and more diverse. You feel, I don't know, you feel like you get different viewpoints instead of just
definitely
people agreeing with each other.
That's it, definitely.
Yeah.
And this, of course, being given the fact that there's this inequality in terms of male and female people working in the industry. Of course, diversity, whether it's more towards men or towards women, if the goal is to even it out, I mean, I think there's only good things coming out of it. There's no a single bad thing coming out of it. So I don't really understand why it's that. And we actually have a couple of examples of women in leadership positions that we worked together, right? So one of them was Sarah Bennett that we just mentioned. Yeah. The other one was actually the other company that you end up working for, which that's when we met again, which was Cinecite. We're talking about another woman on the leadership position of the comp team, and we're talking about Ellen Newby, which is someone that I really like as well. And by the way, you helped out in the show. We're talking about Avengers, and you ended up with Fee as well, joining my team at the very end of the show, which is the worst time to join a show. Right?
Yeah, it is.
But you did a great job. You did a great job because the shots that you were working on, they were getting really sticky, and then you got in the team, and I stopped worrying about those shots, and they went out. So very, very nice. Thank you so much. You did a great job.
It's always a weird time to join, isn't it? Like when you're right at the end of the project and everyone's already tired and stressed, and you're like, hi!
Yeah, and probably because it's the end of it, and some of these shots are getting so sticky, you probably end up like receiving opposite feedback from different people, which is like always a nightmare. It was a hell of a show, right?
Yeah.
It was.
Now, it's in the past.
It's in the past. It's in the past, exactly. But you did a great job. Thank you for that. But we're talking about another woman in a leadership position, and I think this. I mean, there's only, as I said, good things that can happen with this, gender equality. There's a lot of problems still on this front. We still, there's sometimes articles, not only necessarily speaking about our industry, but all industries about this pay gap, which is something that I don't really. I mean, I'm lost for words, right? Honestly, on this subject, because I don't really get it in any way. But this still exists, which is a shame. And we actually have these two examples, and I actually at DNEG I have another example, because the HOD for the compositing department is also a woman. So I have been very lucky in that sense, because I know that's not the norm. Yeah. But what's your experience like? Do you see like a trend when you have women in leadership positions in comparison with men? What do you think that women can bring different? Because you just said that it evens it out a bit. In what sense do you think that happens? Because it would be interesting to know that. Because I also agree, by the way.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of put your finger on it. They just bring a different perspective to it, and maybe so a lot of men in leadership positions have this kind of type A personality, right, where they're really bold and confident, and they know exactly what to do, and they're really great leaders. And maybe just a lot of women aren't as bold about being that type A personality, or maybe we just don't know how to cater to have people in charge that aren't always the bold ones. You know what I mean? It's just different perspectives, I think. It's hard to kind of put your finger on it, but I think it's just a range of different perspectives is kind of what makes a show successful.
Yeah. And what do you think, because sometimes I ask this question for myself, what can we all do to promote this equality in a more effective way? Because I sometimes I don't have that answer, you know what I mean? For me, men and women, they're just, you know, the same, you know, there's no difference at all. just different people,
honestly,
you know what I mean?
We're already doing it. More and more women are speaking up about things that might be unacceptable in a workplace, where there was, you know, this wet article that was released a few days ago about what was happening over there. They're just more vocal about what's not okay anymore. And if we have everybody in the same mindset of saying, yes, this is not okay.
Not okay, of course, yeah.
We're already 10 steps ahead, you know?
yeah, definitely. Because I would like that to be, as you said, it's getting better. I also have that sense. But I think there's still a long way to go, unfortunately. But if we're moving in the right direction, you know, I think that's all we can ask for, right? And actually, we have a question here. And I believe it's from Fee, which is, because I was about to ask about the one of us position that you are having now, and the question is, what's the best thing about working for one of us?
The people.
The people.
Like the people. I kind of tend to choose places that I just really like working with the people rather than necessarily choosing for the project.
There's nothing like feeling. There's nothing like you feeling like you're with the right group of people, right? You know, there's, again, balance is everything in life. Of course, you have to balance it out with other things, but there's nothing like you having the clear sense that you are with the right group of people, right?
Yeah, I think when you get a place that from like the management to the runners, they're all kind of, you can talk to anybody and it's just very open and it's nice. Everyone's just really lovely, and that makes such a big difference when you're in a working environment. That's kind of the main thing, more than the projects that they do or anything else. I mean, they work on cool stuff anyway, but like just the people make a team, you know, rather than the project, the work.
Definitely, I'm 200% with you on that. And speaking of people, you're actually probably working with some ex-colleagues of ours from Milk and from Cinesite as well. I'm thinking about Benoit, for example, Antonio Diaz, probably Cedric, Ken. Hello to all of them, by the way, if you're watching this now. Or
all mixed in.
It's all mixed in, Which, I mean, this is a small industry, so the chances, especially in London, the chances that we're going to bump into each other at some point again, the chances are very, very high. So that was a good thing. Cool. So let's see what there's another question here, I believe, which is hello from Toronto. Hello, Toronto. And so Mazarul is saying that I've been seeing more than 50 job posts on LinkedIn, and every studio wants experienced artists with a minimum of 2 and 3 years. My question is, if it's the reality, how can a job, junior or fresher, skilled person, how can a junior person get a job? Do you want to answer that?
Honestly, I think the best bet right now or soon, seeing how this pandemic turns out, is kind of smaller companies kind of tend to hire juniors a lot more frequently than bigger companies, and just keep hassling them. I would say go down to the pub, but maybe don't go down the pub at the moment. But just keep try and have a kind of rapport with them and message them, update them when you've done new work and updated your reel. And just try and hassle them until
they open the door for you. Yeah, I said this here many times. You have to bug people until they just give up and say, "All right." Sometimes
and don't forget, they're really busy most of the time, right? They'll forget a lot. if you've messaged them like a week ago, just message them again. Like,
yeah. Listen, my take on this, Mazarul, and we've covered this topic in other episodes of this show. But I'm going to be very honest with you. At the moment, this is not the best time, right? I mean, this is definitely not the best time, right? It's probably one of the worst times ever in our industry. Probably the worst time ever, at least, you know, from my experience. And we're not talking just about VFX. We're talking about overall. We know that this pandemic thing is going to, well, just shook the world in such a way that nobody have seen before. So this is definitely not the right time. So what you should do is, as Rook said, is keep sending stuff, keep updating your reel, keep learning new stuff, and keep showing what you can do to other people. Different things. Think outside the box. Don't follow the trend. Do something different. You know what I mean? This is easier said than done. I'm totally aware of that. But that's somehow what I did. That's probably something at some point what Rooks did as well. And you know, this is the only way. You have to create your own opportunities, and there's no time like this if you think about it, because you know the world is on pause mode, right? So this is the best way, the best time for you to have that excuse, if you want to talk about excuses, which is a big word for what we're living. I'm completely aware of that, but you know, you have this time to learn new things because the world is on pause mode. You know what I mean? So there's no time like this, because in a different era, we're talking about 6 months ago, the chances were you're going to be so busy applying or working that you're not going to have time to develop your skills. So this is definitely the time. I hope that I'm helping some of you with this show as well, like, you know, with different ideas and different techniques and all that stuff. But this is what I believe in. And again, this has been my message from the very beginning of this show. This is a good time to develop your skills for sure. And what's coming next? You know, with the teaser and all that stuff, I think that's going to help some of you as well. So there's other things here about emotional intelligence from women versus men. What's your take on it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's hard to say that as a blanket statement.
No, maybe we cannot generalize. We cannot generalize, right?
Yeah, people are people, aren't they? And yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Well, I think there's a point there without falling into, you know, generalizing, because we cannot generalize people. People are always different from each other. But yeah, maybe as an average, maybe, you know, women are winning on that front. Maybe. But yeah, I think that's a good discussion to have also. Hello from Romania. So we have someone from Romania, which is your country, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't touched that topic yet.
There's not many Romanian people in VFX. Every time I find one, I'm like, "Ooh, tell me everything."
Well, this is your opportunity then. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind. So you did, because of course you have like a very British accent, so nobody would say, you know, you have, like, I have an accent, for example, not you. So, but were you born in? Because you told me this before, I can't remember. You were born in the UK, right?
No, I was born in Romania, in Bistrița.
So you're born there. Okay. What was the city, by the way?
Sorry.
Which city?
It's called Bistrița. It's a city it's a town in Transylvania, in North Romania.
Okay. Cool. The land of Dracula, by the way.
I moved here when my family moved here when I was 7. So yeah, that's why I don't have an accent.
Yeah, so you are already 7. I have an accent
when I speak Romanian.
Yeah, all right. So it's the other way around then.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Yeah.
Embarrassingly.
I'm sure your friends are like, what's with this girl? Right? Well, but with 7 years old, probably, do you still have like friends from your childhood there?
I have friends, but they're kind of like family friends. You don't really have that many kind of friends when you're 7 years old. But
yeah, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
I have family friends, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. And you go often there, yeah?
I try and go once a year because I've still got family there.
Once a year, all right.
Yeah. But obviously not this year.
Not this year. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this year is like we're just gonna in a couple of years we're gonna say 2020 it was like no year for anybody. I don't think. We'll see what happens in 2021. Yeah, we'll see what happens on 2021. But yeah, let's see if we have any more questions before we go to the note fight. Because I know that you're dying to do that, right? Okay, so let's see. So emotional intelligence, yeah, left from Romanian, as you just said. Dream scenario with half and half, with half for sure. Yes, I agree, Fee, with you about women equality. Basically, that's what Fee is talking about. So just wanted to drop hi and say some of you tech corner, some of you tech corner stuff is amazing and very insightful. Oh, thank you so much. So keep doing more of that. I'll try. Every episode has to have one, either tech corner or tech challenge. So that will keep happening. Don't worry about it. So another question for you, Rux. Is there any time to show us your internet famous four-legged supervisor? What's that? I don't know what she's talking about.
My cat is very important to my work. And he's been wrangled in the living room at the moment because he's so loud. I have to keep him away from any kind of video call.
All right, loud in what sense? Like
he talks a lot. He yells.
Wow. All right. Well, it's very angry.
Keep him away from the laptop.
By the way, I'm just remembering now because Fee and Rux, they're very, very good friends, and actually. At one point after Milk, correct me if I'm wrong, you came in any company as a pair. So you cannot have one without having the other, right? It was crazy. And everybody was aware of that. And everybody was aware of that.
There were a few years where it felt like we kind of got hired as a team. So if you're going to hire one, you have to hire the other. And then we have to sit together as well on the same project.
Yeah, I remember that. And everybody was aware of that. Everybody was aware. I remember when you were about to come in Cineside, someone mentioned either you or Fee, and I said, you know that there's more than one, right? It's if you're hiring one, you have to hire the other, and that's exactly what happened once again. And actually, I'm just saying this. I'm going to say this because I just remember now. There was a time at Milk that you both had this channel about cats, which was like a reality TV about cats, and you made everyone, because we had like this gigantic TV set in the middle of the studio, you made everybody watch that reality show that honestly still to this day I don't know what the hell was going on there. Do you want to tell us about what was that?
It was a cat foster place somewhere. Was it? I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere in Europe, and they basically had a live camera on them 24/7. It's called Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Got it. Yeah.
In like a doll's house, and we would just like kind of have it on in the background as we were working, and we've got to make work a little bit fun. But now we're home and we have like cats around us, a lot of us. So
okay,
good. Life is good.
All right.
Oh, Iceland, yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, I remember that. This was a long time ago. I hate to say, but I think this was like 5 years ago at least, if I'm not mistaken. Time really, really flies, honestly. Anyway, let's do, what's coming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, let's do the note fight, everybody. Now we're going to have like the final chat and have a few more questions if we have more. So guys, if you have more questions for Rux, please just write them down. All right, let's do the note fight now. All right, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's start with a few new ones, okay?
Yep.
That this is the first time that I'm calling some of them. Okay, Starfield.
Glows.
What's that?
Glows. X-glows.
Okay. Nebulous.
Glow. Glow.
Okay, I'm gonna go to a different one then. Your favorite despiller.
My favorite's key light.
Key light, all right. Day for night?
Lots of grades and
Lots
hope
of?
for the best. Grades and
Great,
hope for the
right.
best.
And hope for the best, right. Got it. Matching blacks, what's your favorite approach to that?
Just manually.
Manually, with a grade?
On a grade node, matching manually with,
Okay.
Gamma up, gamma down, check.
Cool. Heat refraction or distortion, if you will.
Refraction.
Heat refraction. Heat.
Hip.
Heat.
Like hip.
You know fire? Fire distortion, if you want.
Fire distortion. Oh,
Yeah.
I distort.
Okay, cool.
All that I distort.
Nice. All right, let's do a couple more. Additive keying process, because this was a question from one of our viewers.
You need a really good, clean, perfect green screen, because they exist, you know. They don't exist. Perfect. You need a really clean green screen, and then you can. I've been using a lot something called average keyer, which is a specific node. But if you don't have that, then clean green screen, grade it, despill it, desat, multiply, and then multiply onto the plate, so you get all the darks and the highlights, and multiply all the little details on.
Cool. All right. All right. We went through that one. Right. Last one.
Yep.
Favorite defocus.
I've been using a lot the PXF ID focus at the moment with plugging in my own kernel and a grade node, and it's been working really, really nicely. So
right.
that's what I've been doing a lot lately.
Nice. Yeah, that was it. Nice. I think everybody liked that because there were some new answers and some new.
I feel like I could hear the tick-tocking in my head, even though I know I can't actually hear it, but I could hear it in my head. And I was like, just go.
Yeah, everybody can hear it, but the guest. So it's not really fair.
I can't hear it, but I can hear it. You know.
All right, cool. So let's see. Thank you for playing, and it was very nice. It was very nice. We've introduced a couple of new ones, and out of the not so new ones, you answer with new stuff, which is all. It's actually the intention of this segment. The intention is to show to different people that the same thing can be achieved in many different ways. So it's all about.
Always glow, grade, or blur.
All right.
And something.
That's it. Especially the blur part, right? Yeah. Just blur it out. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's see if we have any other question. So we are work wives. Yes. That's exactly what people were saying, and you were saying that as well. Presenting, as a team, we are work-wise, right?
It was very sad when we split up. It was a very sad moment, very sad day.
it's been a while because even at one of us, you were together, right?
Yeah.
So you were really work-wives. Cool. Good team, by the way.
One day, right?
Good team, by the way. All right, so let's see. I remember the cat really. This is Roy who's saying. I remember the cat reality show on that huge TV. So there you go. You see, I'm not lying. No, that was actually a thing. I was like, I tried to watch it. I'll be honest. I tried to watch it, but I was like, no, this is. If I'm not watching reality TV shows, I'm not gonna watch this one for sure. But it was fun.
Perfect trash TV because they had cats in, so it was like better than anything.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, we're gonna wrap up the show for today. It was a very good one. Thank you so much, Rux, for coming in. It was really fun, and it was really good to catch up with you again. This was an excuse, because the last time that we worked together, I think we were together with maybe the majority of people that we were together at that time. That was probably at Oaxaca or something. the majority of that group was already a guest on this show. So it was a nice one. So we're talking about like a couple of years ago or something. So this was a good excuse to have you on and to have a chat with you. Hope you're doing well. Hope your family is doing well in this crazy time. And let's stay in touch for sure, as we've been doing so far. And guys, let's see each other next week. I believe next week it's going to be possible to have another show. Rux, once again, thank you so much. And as I said in the beginning of the show, in maybe tomorrow or in a couple of days, we're going to have some merchandising available for everyone who would like to have it as a part of the tribe. And I think you're going to like it as well. Alongside with what's coming. So please go Lair, VFX.com, register interest, and you'll be able to know what's going to happen very, very soon. All right, so everybody, see you next week. Rux, once again, bye-bye and take care. Please stay on, all right? Don't leave, stay on, all right? All right, bye-bye, guys. See you.